coming to get you, Barbara.
Here's some money. Go see a Star War.
But I'm trying, Ringo. I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd.
Welcome back to Long Walk Talks. My name is David Hensley. I'm the owner and creative director of Long Walk Productions, and I am joined today, as always, by my two co-hosts, Stan Wilson Lee.
Hello.
And Chris Wilson Barnes.
Are you open?
Yes, we're open. I assure you, we're open.
He took notes.
He did. Chris is way prepared for this. I think you're more prepared for this discussion than you have ever been for any of the episodes of This Is a Work.
It freaks me out, man.
Like, you don't even take notes for wrestling pay-per-views.
It's like,
Why would I take notes on that rubbish?
Yeah, that's a good point. So if you haven't figured it out already, or if you didn't listen to our prior episodes leading up to this, we're following up our Quentin Tarantino Quarantino discussion by focusing on a different director. This time around, we're going to be talking about Kevin Smith for the next 6 months, specifically the View Askewniverse, which means that we're not going to be discussing films like
Jersey Girl.
Jersey Girl, or what was that movie he did with Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan?
Cop Out.
Cop
Yeah.
Out.
And
Or-
Canadian trilogy.
Or, yeah, we're not going to talk about the Great White North films.
That movie that specifically came about because Bruce Willis on the set of Die Hard 4 was like, we should do something together. And then it turns out doing something with Bruce Willis was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I am, because we also can't do, and since I'm a huge fan, I would love to discuss about this one of these days if we could, Red State, since it's not part of the...
We might, well, I don't know. I had considered making like a bonus episode out of the Great White North films, but I also, I don't want to talk about Tusk because I haven't seen it and have no interest in seeing it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Nor do I have any interest whatsoever in seeing Yoga Hosers.
I don't know, man.
But to kick off our discussion, we're going to be talking about the film Clerks. And I think I may have made an error in our last episode when I talked about the release schedule, because I seem to always forget about the film Dogma and the fact that it exists in the View Askewniverse.
Which is weird because that's the Kevin Smith film that Comedy Central loved running the most.
Yeah. So this month in January, we're talking about Clerks. In February, we'll talk about Mallrats. In March, Chasing Amy. In April, Dogma.
Yeah.
In May, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. And in June, we're going to have to cram 2 episodes in there of Clerks 2 and Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. I forgot that there are 7 films in the View Askewniverse.
Are there, I guess that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Clerks 2, and then the next one would have been the newest one, right? The reboot.
Yep. So
can we just I really find it awesome that we're following Tarantino up with Kevin Smith, because believe it or not, Kevin Smith is one of my favorites as well.
Well, and they both got their big break around the same time.
Absolutely.
It's actually watching the Clerks 10th anniversary DVD that Dave loaned me. In the special features for theatrical trailer, Smith, right before the trailer runs, he says that the guy at Miramax who cut the Pulp Fiction trailer is the same guy who cut the Clerks trailer.
Nice.
That's great.
Yeah, this was released in 1994, the same year as Pulp Fiction. And just as a little bit of history that a lot of people may already know, but it's been so long since this came out, really, that some people might not know who aren't, enormous film nerds like we are. This is one of the biggest Hollywood indie success stories of all time. Smith made the film for $27,000, which he financed by selling his comic book collection, getting a $3,000 loan from his parents, and
juggling credit cards.
Yeah, and putting the rest on credit cards. So had this not succeeded, he'd have been out his entire comic book collection and probably still be in debt to this day. But instead, it got picked up by Miramax. It became a cult classic, and it kicked off his film career.
And was it one of the influences for Rodriguez and his, or were they all like happen in the same time? And
they all happened at roughly
the same time.
Yeah, they all happened at roughly the same time. Like the early '90s was a big boom for indie filmmakers because Rodriguez had already made El Mariachi in Mexico by this time, and Desperado came out in 95.
All right.
So shortly after this came out. So this came out in 94, which is now almost 27 years ago. So our first topic of discussion is, how well does it hold up 27 years later? Stan, let's start with you. What do you think?
I think dialogue-wise, script-wise, I think it's still very smartly written, very and yeah, the topics they talk about might be dated, but the way they talk about it, and like Tarantino is so good about his writing and being very conversational, and yet even his dumbest characters are super smart. Kevin Smith is the same way. I mean, even his dumbest characters are written really interestingly and really smartly. So
are you including Pringles Guy?
I am including Pringles Guy, actually, because the whole thing is like, I'm really glad I was able to get that off.
I will admit, I made a note specifically that said, I love the dumb guy voice that guy used.
And it's like, and that's what I'm saying. It's like just the way, in comparison with Tarantino, it's like how Tarantino is able to seemingly take very non sequiturs and juxtapose it with what's really happening and make it seem seamless. And it's, oh, that's supposed to happen. Okay. I think maybe not as craftily, but I think Kevin Smith is like with the milkmaids and with the oh my God,
Jizz moppers.
No, and the one guy,
the guidance counselor.
You guys really offended me. And then Randall opens the magazine.
Oh yeah,
and he comes running out. But just stuff like that where it's not part of the overall stuff, but it comes in and makes a comment on itself. So,
Chris, what do you think? How does it hold up after 27 years?
I think it holds up, especially plot-wise, and even and what they're discussing, especially the backdrop. Like, even though those specific problems or customers aren't stuff I've encountered, like we've all three of us still do and have worked in retail and food service, and we know we have our own lineup of people that's like
of idiot customers. Yeah.
And and even the characters, their struggles they're going through, the overarching plot, it still holds up. You could easily translate that into a more modern setting. Now that you've reminded me that it's 27 years,
right? Yeah. I'm
sorry. I think the only thing that doesn't hold up for me is just like the delivery or the way that a lot of the lines are come across.
Mm-hmm.
Not by content, but just by delivery. I think it just has to do with the fact that, Smith and everybody in the movie,
crew
of the movie, they're less polished than a lot of other people were.
Yeah, and a lot of those people in the film, that was their first time ever acting.
Yeah.
I think. I read the trivia page for this a couple of nights ago, and I want to say that Brian O'Halloran was the only one. He was like a local theater actor.
Yeah.
Whereas Jeff Anderson, who plays Randall, had never acted before. And overall, I think Jeff Anderson's performance as Randall is good. And I wish I had written this down while I was watching it, except for one line delivery he had, and again I should have written it down because I can't remember which line it is.
Do you remember where about in the movie?
No, I don't. But there is one line delivery that is so bad that it took me out of it for a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as how well it holds up as an indie darling, yeah, this is one of the most indie of indie films. I mean, just beyond the production value, because it was shot on 16 millimeter. It's in black and white. It's a huge success story. So obviously it's going to be, an inspiration to any filmmakers in that regard. As a film, it is so much a product of its time that I feel like, honestly, for anyone born post 2000, this film is not going to hold any interest for them. I mean, you just look at the huge leap between just Clerks and Clerks 2 in 2007.
Yeah. But the amazing thing is, I mean, you could there's ways. I mean, there's really not too much dependence on things in such a way that you couldn't retranslate it into a modern setting.
It's true. Yeah, no, you could. But in the context of its release in 1994 and in the context of how it was created.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, in 1994, the majority of his $27,000 budget went towards a camera and 16 millimeter film.
He had
renting the editing equipment and all of that.
Because he also had the good fortune of, like, he was working at that place at the time. And they were like, yeah, you can use the building after hours or something, or like that, rent it out. Nowadays,
you can shoot a 4K film on your cell phone, and lots of people do. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like just anybody born after a certain time is not going to appreciate the film.
I'm thinking you probably have to go into Clerks already having established yourself as a Smith fan. You know, if you and okay, I got to take in account his earlier stuff, and I got to go and be completist. And if you're starting your Smith Odyssey with Clerks, the original Clerks. Now, if you started with Clerks 2, it's okay, I think. But if you start with the original Clerks and the original idea of where he was going, because I'm not sure if he was establishing the universe at this time or not. I don't think so. But
no, I definitely don't think he had any idea that this would be as successful
especially
as
not
it
with
was.
The first ending.
And
well,
yeah, exactly. And but the idea of figuring out where Jay and Silent Bob came from, you know, let's go watch Clerks. So it's like, yeah, I agree with you in the sense that if you're just starting your Kevin Smith Odyssey, that's probably not the film to start with.
No.
It should be a film that establishes him as a decent filmmaker, i.e. Chasing Amy or something, and then going back to finish his au revoir in the sense of, okay, let's see where it started.
It is in a way kind of like like, I love Mickey Mouse. Let's see the first thing you go and watch
Right.
Steamboat Willie.
Right.
And you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
But in the sense of, okay, his writing ability was pretty, like with Tarantino in his early stuff, it was evident early. It's evident really early with Clerks in that sense.
I feel like the biggest difference here is Kevin Smith is more on the nose and less subtle with his dialogue, because he will have his characters come right out and say exactly what Kevin Smith is thinking.
Yeah, 100%.
Like Randall was written to be a mouthpiece for Kevin Smith, and that was the role that he wrote
Everybody's
for himself.
ADHD in Smith.
I mean, really, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, they comment on it in the movie about how some characters are just emphatically blunt about what they're talking about.
So I also feel like it's unique in that as far as I can tell, it is literally the first of its kind. Kevin Smith has talked about the fact that there were no movies about these types of characters at the time. Now, the late teens, early 20-something slacker is such a cultural norm now. But at the time, you look at what this was coming off the heels off of, and, you know, what were movies about at the time? They were about politicians, firefighters, cops, soldiers, action heroes, Wall Street. To go from all of that coming out of the 80s into two guys who work in convenience stores, it's such a jarring juxtaposition. These guys aren't action stars. They're not, cops.
In Jersey.
Yeah. Yeah, they're two clerks in Jersey. We're always bad about this. We never give a recap of what we're talking about just for people who haven't seen it. We just have to kind of assume it's been 27 years. Either you've seen Clerks or you haven't at this point. But for those,
or at least watch the animated show.
Yeah,
that's not quite the same though. I mean, because the characters were softened immensely.
That's what I'm saying. Is
they were
that
made more likable.
If you want to experience Clerks, maybe start with the animated series, and then you get a kind of a more softened and what am I saying? More contemporary.
Yeah. Well, for an indie nerd like me, this was one of the films that kicked off my obsession with movies and movie making. This Reservoir Dogs and El Mariachi, and that's why I hold all three of these directors in such high regard. Even though now I can look back on it and its flaws are glaringly obvious. Like, I saw this at 15 years old and I just thought that it was pure brilliance. But yeah, for those who don't know, the film is about Dante and Randall, two workers at two stores that are right next to each other.
It's a combination because there's one guy who owns a convenience store and a video store together. And
Dante works at the Quick Stop, and Randall works at RST Video badly. And it's just a day in the life from about 7 a.m. to about 9 p.m. for the two of them, and all the insane shit that happens around them. So,
and it's supposed to take place on a Saturday, yet Dante's girlfriend is in what is her school in session on Saturdays? That I've forgotten that before I watch it again. I'm like, wait, she's going to classes. She has all day classes on Saturday. Is that right?
Well, they are supposed to be in their early 20s. Like they specifically, Dante says 22, which makes me feel like Veronica is probably starting grad school. Which grad schools, you do tend to have like social work programs and stuff like that. You would have class on Saturday. Right. Sorry, Chris, what were you going to say?
Oh, nothing. I was thinking about because they are like early 20s. It's supposed to be like basically this whole movie is like the folly of youth.
And can I put it out there that I would have picked Veronica right off.
You're supposed to. Oh God, you're supposed to.
I don't. So that last moment is pretty intense. Man.
I damn near included as a topic of discussion, who would you pick, Caitlin or Veronica? And then I thought about it, and I was like, any person who watches this movie and would pick Caitlin is a fucking moron. There is nothing positive said about her by anyone other than Dante, and that's just his lovelornness.
Yeah, my first note about Veronica. Veronica is the rock of Dante's life. He depends on her too much for stability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's Silent Bob that clicks it into Dante's head.
There's lots of beautiful women out there, but not all of them will bring you spaghetti at work. Yep. Most of them just cheat on you.
Also, to demonstrate, there's just it's like they're in their 20s and life's a mess. Dante is first seen falling out of his closet to answer his phone.
He comes out of the closet.
And I'd like to say that this is an original observation of mine, but I had never noticed this before until I went and read the TV tropes page for it. Part of the theme of Dante's character is that he is so passive aggressive and he hates inconveniencing people, which you find out from frame 1 of the movie. When it opens, his dog is sleeping on the bed and Dante's in the closet.
Yeah.
Dante wouldn't even inconvenience his dog to get off his bed so that he could sleep on it. He chose to sleep in the closet rather than get his dog to move.
It illustrates it perfectly because anyone who owns a dog or knows a dog, they'll move over.
Yeah.
And the naming of Dante as Dante is purposeful because he's a writer. So the whole,
Also, Randall's introduction is so perfect. It just illustrates what a perfect shit he is.
Yeah.
But Randall again is the one that's got the shit together.
Well, okay, that segues, thank you, into our next topic of discussion, which is who's worse, Dante or Randall? Stan, what do you think of the two characters? And I'm not saying like bad actors or badly written characters. Right, I mean as bad people.
As bad people. I'm not sure as actors ourselves, as directors, we can't really say either of them are bad.
I can, but continue.
But the idea that you can't play bad.
Yeah, we've both worked with bad actors. So I will 100% point out when somebody is just a flat out
playing
bad
a character. We have to believe our characters are good.
No, I don't mean bad in the sense of evil.
He means character-wise.
Right, character-wise.
Like Dante and Randall aren't evil people.
And they acknowledge themselves as shits on both counts, but who's the bigger shit?
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. Let's amend that. Who's the bigger shit?
You have to say Randall's the bigger shit, but the thing is he's a self-realized and
self-actualized shit.
self-actualized in his own big shitness. You know, it's like Dante is trying his damnedest, or no, not really, because doesn't want to
he's
inconvenience.
not trying is the
He
problem.
wants to be okay, but things getting in his way of being okay. So everything's put upon, and so like that for me makes him the bigger shit in the sense, and the worst person is because he's not going to take responsibility.
Right.
Randall takes responsibility for his stuff. He knows he
acknowledges
to an
it.
extent.
He acknowledges it.
He acknowledges,
That's
and,
not really
and
taking
he might throw responsibility of his shitness onto other folk.
Oh, constantly.
But the idea he realizes,
Yeah.
and he acknowledges, and he's not. He doesn't have the wool over his eyes where he thinks he can be better than he is at this moment.
Yeah.
Because, gets to the end and he's the one that talks to talks to Veronica about the whole thing, because he thinks he's doing a good job. He thinks he's being good to his friend, and he does love his friend. And for the most part, he's a pretty good friend if he's your friend, but if he has to choose to be your friend. So the idea that and Dante wants to be friends and be good for everybody, and then because circumstances don't allow him to be good for everybody, I'm the put upon one. This sucks. Why did I have to work today? I wasn't supposed to even be here today.
Yeah.
So that, to me, it's like, and I can say that because sometimes I do that and I find myself falling into that, and it's like I really hate putting that on other people. So it's like I'd rather be out here, and if I'm going to suffer, I'm going to suffer on my own. So.
I think we're all guilty of that to an extent.
Oh,
Few
sure.
people are just as dramatic with it as Dante is. Like, he leans into that.
Dante has martyr syndrome.
Talking about, you mentioned Randall's conversation with Veronica. This is just a quick aside. But that is the source of one of my favorite jokes in the movie, which is Dante realizing, oh my God, I love Veronica. Jump cut to Randall going, so that's it. He just doesn't love you.
And it's funny and sad because at that point, it's like you can tell Randall's trying to help. He's trying to help, and he's trying to help Dante because he thinks Dante is like, okay, he's gonna go crawling back to Caitlin. He doesn't want Veronica to be stuck.
Yeah, and it's also especially tragic that these two events take place about 20 feet from each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's worth mentioning again, the video store is connected
Yeah.
to the quick stop.
It's
Veronica
literally-
is right there.
In two scenes back to back, they show Randall getting bored, just walking out the door into the quick stop.
So Chris, who's the bigger shit?
It's largely the same argument for me. It's Dante. I think it's Dante because, as Stan kind of said in different words than I'm going to, Dante and Randall are a lot alike, and which is probably why they make such good friends. In that they're kind of, and when they want something, when they're motivated for something, they're kind of like, they're selfish little weasels. They both are. The difference is Dante still wants to be liked,
Right.
but
right.
Randall doesn't care.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And Randall is honest about that, and to the point where it's like he knows how big of a shit he is. He just doesn't.
He has a whole philosophical diatribe about it. He's that way.
I have
And
notes.
it's really well written.
I have notes all the way through. And when they're arguing at the end after fighting, and Randall's chewing him out for the stuff he did, Randall does conveniently leave out the fact that he helped a lot of that happen.
He's directly responsible for a lot of it. He's
Yes.
the one who sold cigarettes to a 4-year-old.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, he gets on Dante for, and I like I said, I have notes in here about like Dante gives into Randall's bullshit far too easily.
Yeah.
He's so willing. It's just crazy.
But the thing is, Randall might have instinct, but Dante allows it to happen.
That is true.
And because he has he's like, it's my store. I put Randall in charge. It's like, I
get that. It comes down to neither one of them wanting to take responsibility for their own shortcomings.
I want to close the store and play hockey.
Well, there's no better, in my opinion, illustration of how I don't want to say toxic their relationship is, but
I'm
how
sorry, I do have to
It kind of is.
reemphasize. I really do believe they are really, really close friends.
They are.
And I think they are great, great friends, and I think they're great together.
they are, but
They
I
are.
don't think there's any better illustration of Randall's influence on Dante and how willing he is to pull the rug out from Dante than their conversation about Randall's friend that died or broke his neck trying to suck his own
Oh
dick.
yeah. Oh,
And-
That's my favorite joke of the whole movie.
And Randall being like, yeah, everybody's tried to do it. A few minutes later, when Dante's like, man, I could never do it. I could never reach.
that's what that note was about. That's what the Dante gives into Randall's bullshit way too easy was about. This story. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're a pervert.
Randall tells this whole story about a friend of his died, broke his neck trying to suck his own dick. He tells Dante, yeah, every guy has tried it. And Dante's like, really? And then a few minutes later, Dante admits that he
he
has
tried it,
tried
yeah.
it.
I can
and
never reach.
And
I
then
could never
Randall-
reach. And then Randall's like, you tried to suck your own dick? You fucking pervert.
I
One.
laughed
That is
really, really, really fucking hard.
yeah. One. I was disappointed because Dante, you've known this guy. You've known this guy for long enough to know what he's going to do to you. Two. It's like, of course, most guy friends will do this to each other too.
And it's a really craftily edited and timed joke because they pull into right as the punchline happens and he said, you fucking pervert. They pull into the funeral parlor to go visit their dead friend, and which leads into another great joke.
And then right
It's
under that
really
is
well
my
edited.
note about the $500 fine. Dante fucked himself over by trusting Randall for his own selfish goals when he knew better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing. He knows what kind of, how Randall's gonna act. So
Randall didn't know this little girl was gonna smoke it. He thought she was
Okay,
buying it for his mom.
even if he doesn't have peripheral fucking vision,
I know.
he knows he's handing shit off to a tiny person.
I know,
I know.
but-
I know. You're playing. I know. I got you.
Yeah, and I don't think Dante could have. He knows Randall is a shitty employee. I don't think he expected for Randall to be so shitty at his job
That he doesn't-
that he wouldn't even notice.
The 4-year-old.
What did Randall?
The 4-year-old.
He does say, I didn't think she'd smoke it. Randall says that.
Yeah, he knows
like,
because
"I
like
didn't
despite
think she
the
was
fact
gonna
that that
smoke
scene has no
herself."
audio.
But continue your argument about who's shittier.
No, it's Dante. It's just at the
Okay.
end of the day, it's Dante. And I know you have a counter argument.
I do, and I feel like the shittier person of the two is Randall.
I can understand an argument either way, honestly.
Dante's shittiness comes from a place of ignorance and laziness. He's
Yeah.
not willing to try to better himself. He's comfortable in his discomfort.
Which Randall says, yeah.
But Randall is outright malicious
Mm-hmm.
with some of the shit that he does. He outright spits water in a customer's face because the customer was pissing him off.
Funny enough, he does
Because he
that.
doesn't care about the job.
Well, no, that and the fact that he's also proving a point that
Doesn't
Dante to
define
just
it.
stick up for himself, weirdly
Right.
enough.
Yeah. Dante actually is shown throughout the movie doing his job that he is being paid to be there to do. Randall runs off customers left and right and seemingly doesn't rent a single movie the entire day.
Admittedly, there's one that's just Randall just not caring more than being outwardly malicious, and that's the video order.
Yeah, there's the video order. And
And he was really great with the order.
it's especially
I'm sorry, were you going to tell the trivia about it?
oh yeah, the fact that Jeff Anderson refused to actually
Say that in front of
read
a
that.
kid, yeah.
He refused to read those titles in front of a child.
So that's why it's a two-shot. It keeps cutting back and forth. It's just probably them having fake stuff reeled off to the mom.
Yeah, but yeah, that's just my opinion on the two.
I get it. No, you raise a good point. Yeah, I mean, what's worse, the inadvertently malicious or the willfully malicious?
Yeah, the Dante is harmlessly shitty. Randall is harmfully shitty.
There is one point where I am completely on board, and that's when he's reading the paper and the woman is showing him the videos. and she tries to just pretend to.
I don't appreciate your ruse.
Yeah. The quote here after he says that is, "I hope it feels good to be right. There's nothing more exhilarating than pointing out the shortcomings of others." Is there? And it resonated with me because my note is, Randall's being a terrible employee, but there's so many people who love to do this to the people who are actively trying to help them all the time.
Well, it also speaks to Randall's hypocrisy because as he is saying this line, he is pointing out this woman's flaws.
Oh, sure.
Randall's hypocrisy in the film is astounding.
Randall is almost the perfect devil's advocate.
He's definitely the perfect devil on your shoulder. Mm-hmm. So that's my opinion. Randall is the shittier of the two people. So let's move on. Our next topic of discussion, this is a fun one. What is the most 90s thing about this movie? Is it the casual homophobia? Is it the fashion? Is it the punk/grunge soundtrack? Stan, what do you think is the most 90s aspect of the movie?
Well, to go with this, I mean, the soundtrack is that because that's his favorite. I mean, Soul Asylum's on it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not gonna hate that soundtrack.
Fun
it's
fact,
a great soundtrack.
Fun bit of
I
trivia.
love that soundtrack.
This is the only movie in history where the soundtrack cost more than the production of the film.
I was wondering, how did you get that?
That's all in post.
I was about to say that's got to be Miramax once they were involved.
The movie cost $27,000 to make. The soundtrack cost $30,000 to license. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that out.
No, that's important to hear.
But the thing, it might have been. Oh, here's my biggest 90s thing.
That was my meta answer to the soundtrack.
So I'm watching the credits, right? And for the indie films of that time, there was a big thing of doing a thank yous to all the people that helped you out to get the movie made. And one of the last ones is big thank you to Harvey Weinstein.
Yep.
That might be the biggest because everybody thanked Harvey.
That had to have been so hard for Smith and so many other people.
Everybody. I mean, even the people that have come out that he hurt them were thanking him in 93. Well, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94.
Yeah.
Well, since Sex, Lies, and Videotape, so 89.
Yeah. Hey, that's a hard topic to avoid because there's nary a film that Weinstein didn't touch that became immensely popular.
And it's unavoidable for Smith because he launched Smith's career.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he launched Tarantino's.
Yep.
And I'm hesitant to say that he lost. I'm hesitant to say he launched Rodriguez's career, but he definitely helped.
Yeah.
Because Desperado was a. It wasn't Miramax. What was the other? Dimension. It was a Dimension.
It
film,
was Dimension,
which was an offshoot of Miramax.
I mean, and so that probably would end up being because everybody loved Harvey, or at least the Weinstein brothers, and because he was the man. Just thanking him was the thing at that time.
Yeah.
And so it's like if you worked with Harvey Weinstein, you had a chance at an Oscar. Even if you were doing a $27,000 movie, you had a chance. But in the sense, I love the soundtrack, and even though it might have been the most, and that Miramax might have had a hand in it, but I think Kevin Smith, those were some of his favorite bands that were on it. So it's like,
probably because Soul Asylum comes back and is featured in Clerks 2.
Misery, and even though he was Jersey and they were Minnesota and stuff, but still he knew that scene. Probably the most 90s thing would probably be Jay and Silent Bob stuff. What they wore, what they looked like, how they acted, the whole stoner rock, caius.
Jay kind of looked like he was straight out of a documentary about street kids from that time.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Is that you had the whole Arizona, Texas desert stoner rock feel going on with them and throughout the movie. And then there was hockey. You either had desert style stoner rock dudes in Jay and Silent Bob, or you had the whole, East Coast, everybody plays hockey. even if it's on the rooftop of your job with a ball and rollerblades.
Yeah.
It was all hockey all the time. And Kevin Smith is a huge hockey fan, and he grew up playing hockey, and him and Jason Mewes, they bonded over hockey, so of course was going to be in it.
To the point where the man is never seen not wearing a hockey jersey.
Exactly.
I have seen him in a suit wearing his blazer over a hockey jersey.
Yes. I mean, he's biggest New Jersey Devils fan you'll ever see, you know, and it's like, so probably the idea of sports and punk rock connected at that time, because that was probably the first time where sports and punk rock actually met face to face and meshed and loved each other. Was the early 90s, and us punk rockers didn't have to worry about admitting that we loved to go to baseball games or play hockey or whatever anymore. And us sports lovers, we could say, yeah, we're into punk rock music. What the fuck? We didn't have to listen to really bad music anymore as athletes or as enthusiasts of sports. The early 90s allowed those two to meet.
I don't think there's ever a point in your life at which you could be called an athlete.
Dude, I played sports all the time. I mean, I got my shit beat out of me. But I was the one that they tried to break their bones, but they would end up breaking their own bones. So let me say that I never broke any bones playing sports, but they all broke their bones trying to break my shit. So fuck them, man. That's all I got to say.
What a weird flex that was. Chris, what is the most 90s thing about Clerks?
Well, the easiest things were the technology. I mean, there's one scene where Dante calls to check in where his boss is on a payphone.
Employees only phone.
Yeah. Oh, that's just another subtle hint that the boss was a bastard. Not just disappearing up to Vermont. Not just disappearing up to Vermont for 4 days, but yeah, the employees only pay phone. It's like, Jesus.
I had to make an order. I had to pay to make it.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the video store had a phone.
Yeah.
The video store had a regular phone.
That's true.
Yeah. There was the fact that there was a videotape rental store, the boombox with the tape deck that Jay and Silent Bob are rocking. I mean, it's just like it was harder for me to just look at the styles and go, yeah, that's totally 90s. It is, but it's just like I grew up in that era, so it's just like, okay, yeah, it looks normal.
Yeah, I can relate to it.
Yeah.
So it's not too out of proportion for me.
Yeah, and then to be reminded, it was 94.
Yeah. That was going to be my answer, is the video store. Just the mere existence of one. Again, you know, kids born after 2000 would have been on the tail end of video stores and probably don't remember them or would have the appreciation that people like us would.
Oh, my God.
But
they were awesome.
I used to think about how great it would be to work in a video store.
Yeah.
I always wanted to. I never did. I applied at both the Blockbuster where I grew up and the one here in Rock Hill, and I never got hired.
The last Blockbuster, the one that still exists, sells as a souvenir, a souvenir Blockbuster rental card. As a piece of merch, and I have in my wallet right now my actual Blockbuster rental card.
Mine is somewhere in my house.
I have also in my apartment one from a local place called Pick-a-Flick.
I remember Pick-a-Flick. Yeah, we had one where I grew up.
Oh God.
Family Video.
I don't think I kept
Family Video, yeah.
I don't think I kept it, but I ended up about a week or 2 weeks before they finally just closed up for good. I had like a Hollywood Video.
Hollywood Video. So there was.
Hollywood Videos.
So I grew up in a little town called Dacusville. That's in Greenville, South Carolina.
Yeah.
And there was a Blockbuster that was just a mainstay. From when I was a kid all the way up until they finally closed all the Blockbusters. But a couple of miles away, there was a freestanding building that was just a series of different video stores. So it was a family movie. It was a Hollywood Video. If there was a movie, a VHS chain in the 90s, this place was one of them at some point. Do either of you... did you guys have, or do you remember movies?
I do not.
Their mascot was a cow, and the name of the store was literally MOOVIES. Movies. Movies.
If that hadn't already existed, man, that would just be part of Kevin Smith's universe as part of the movie chain.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, 90s and video stores. What a great time.
Those of you that don't know, and most of you that listen to us probably have been around for a while and do, but those of you that don't know about video stores, it literally was an event when you got to go. I mean, even though you're doing it every week,
Yeah.
you know, you're renting your movies every week, but still, it was an event to say, I'm going to the video store, I'm renting movies.
It really was,
and,
yeah.
And then when they started selling food in there too, and they started selling the movie candies.
Oh, shit.
And you either went with a purpose, you were there to find this movie or these movies, or you went there to wander up and down the aisles looking at everything.
Looking at everything and then finding the back room with the
Well, I don't think most blockbusters had a
not the
back room.
blockbusters,
Oh,
but
God.
I always dodged the blockbusters because they, you know, engaged in the censorship, you know, and they wouldn't stock Last Temptation of Christ and stuff. So it's like, and so I was doing the Michigan videos and
weird,
stuff like
'cause they
that, which
stocked
is
anime.
That's what I'm saying. It was so selective in their shit, but you would like if you're like 17 to 21, you're like looking for that magic room in the back, and then wow,
Yeah, Dave.
and then you get to Chicago, and literally the video store, you know that downstairs is where you're headed. Even though upstairs is where they're making their money or whatever, but actually it's downstairs. You come in, you walk down, and you go hit the stairs, and I'm going down. Oh, hi. Hello.
What a metaphor, Chris.
Well, I remember more, and my memories are more in line with yours, where it was the magical, or maybe on a Friday I could ask my mom, hey, could we rent like a video? Like Friday nights when you could do that and then get a pizza for dinner.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And like the Blockbuster at its peak when it had the candy rack. Of course, it had the and then they started stocking like they had popcorn and candy.
It was awesome.
And you're right. Yeah, it's just like wandering up the aisles. I had the same feeling. My two favorite things from being a kid is just wandering in a video store, wandering around in a bookstore.
Yeah.
Same feeling.
Exactly. And it's like when you're a horror movie fan, video stores were the shit.
Yeah.
You know, it was great.
I will say that the one thing that that video stores and streaming services have in common is that it's always going to be a struggle. Do I go with something I've already watched a million times, or do I take a chance on something new? And 90% of the time, you know what? I'm just going to watch this thing I've already watched a million times.
But at least with streaming, I will say the upside of streaming is if I hate this, I just got to hit a button to back out of it. I don't have to eject it, put it back in a case, and drive back to the store thinking about how terrible
If it comes out of your machine.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And no one nowadays is ever going to know the struggle of popping in a video and the credits immediately coming up because the asshole before you didn't rewind it. Nor are most people these days even going to understand what rewinding a tape means.
Be kind.
It's gone the same way as the floppy disk becoming the save icon on computer programs.
That's true. It's true.
Did you print the save icon for Microsoft Word?
Oh, yeah. There's that tweet about someone handing a floppy disk to a younger person saying, oh. So I remember, God, I'm going to sound old in a second. God, I remember when they stopped putting A drives on computers.
But no, talking about video stores, man, it's like, and this is one of the reasons why I love both Tarantino and Smith is because they are so in love with that particular time with video stores and stuff like that, because that's where they started, and they discovered so much of their love of movie making and stuff by either working or by actually renting the movies and being customers at video stores. And it's like, it literally, I loved video stores.
Yeah.
It was the place to go. It's like, it would be my solace. If I was feeling bad, I would just go in the middle of the day and go to the video store and look at movies.
There was one summer where where we live, there's a big kind of like small strip mall area that's called the Commons, and that's where the one I mentioned, Pick-a-Flick, used to be.
Yep.
Video.
Pick-a-Flick.
And one summer, when it was one of the first few, it was like either the first or one of the second summers I was allowed to be by myself during the day in the summer. I had a bunch of money saved up, and I would almost every day during that summer I would go over to the video store and I would browse around because they had like a $1 rental.
Yep.
Some sort of deal for certain videos, like $1 rental, and I would rent one and watch it and take it back, and it was just that was just my summer right there.
When I first moved here for college, the Blockbuster is one of the first places I figured out to go. Like it was high on my priority list to find one anyway, but it just so happened that that was one of the first places I found out. Oh, that's where that's at. The 90s. All right. So this last topic comes because in thinking about the character of Randall and how we all sort of know somebody like Randall, either directly or indirectly, either spot on or halfway.
I mean, and even if it's not like one person who is like him, we all have our moments.
Yeah, but some more so than others.
Some more so than others.
Brings me to our final topic of discussion. How many Facebook status updates would Randall have posted over the course of the movie if this were set in modern day?
I don't think he would post anything as himself. He would probably post them as Dante.
Oh, see, no.
No.
Dante.
No, Randall wouldn't care.
Randall strikes me as the kind of person who absolutely wants you to hear his opinion, and he's going to make his opinion known at all times.
Do you think, because...
Less so on Facebook. I think he'd do it more on Twitter.
No.
Really? You don't think so?
Well, let's see. If this were set modern day, okay. I'm thinking of Randall as he would be now.
Oh, okay.
At the age he would be now. Okay, you're right. I was thinking about this in the wrong sense. He would, if this was set modern, it'd be on Twitter.
Oh, absolutely.
Or Instagram.
He'd troll relentlessly.
But if we were to see Randall in a film now at Jeff Anderson's actual age, I think he would not stop updating his Facebook status.
What does he do in Clerks 2?
I don't think they ever address it because Facebook at that time was still relatively new.
Because it was only a year 2006.
Yeah, 2006 or it was 2006.
It was around the first year of Twitter itself. So
yeah.
And
this was also before smartphones.
Yeah.
Like no one in Clerks 2 has an iPhone or an Android or anything because they didn't. I don't think they existed at the time.
Not quite, no.
Were there BlackBerry?
Everyone would have had a flip phone.
Okay, yeah.
I think you're right. I think he would post those like vicious rants all day.
He strikes me as the kind of person that would use sheeple.
Yeah, that not even because he believes it, but just because he wants to needle people harder.
Yeah.
I agree with the needling part.
I think, and I think just like because he strikes me as that kind of guy. Like Randall wouldn't, but he's the kind of guy that other people characterize as like, yeah, he's an asshole, but he tells the truth and he says it like it is.
He says what we're all thinking.
I don't think he'd be one of the fuckers at the Capitol.
No.
I think he would needle the fuck out of the people at the Capitol.
He would have spent the entirety of that day Facebooking about how stupid they were.
Yeah.
And which makes him okay in my book.
I mean,
I thought of this question specifically because Chris and I know somebody who I have had to, in a couple of months ago, like not just unfriend, but had to flat out block because I just got so tired of seeing their inane ramblings and seeing them use the word sheeple. And I finally was like, my God.
Is this the
it's not
coat dude?
No. Okay. No. No, this was a while ago, and this was actually a guest on one of the shows on our network that that we met once, and I made the connection between him and Randall in my head, and I was like, holy shit, this is adult Randall.
Yeah. I can also better stomach the idea of Randall, the character, knowing Jeff Anderson is actually a really stand-up guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I know that you took copious notes.
I did. You want me to run through some?
Yeah, read us some of your notes, because that was the last actual discussion topic I had.
Because it was kind of like live. I was like almost live tweeting the whole thing just on Notepad. Just like I started with the anti-smoker with props, who turns out to be the Chulies rep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even before the joke was he's a Chulies rep, I just hated the fact that he's this kind of guy who just starts ranting. And, it's like, Dante's being polite, and he's just like, but it's just the kind of customer that ultimately you'd get in trouble for confronting.
Mm-hmm.
So he and then it just cuts back to him holding a fucking seminar inside that store.
Yeah, doing prop comedy with it.
And
People throwing cigarettes at Dante.
Talking about 90s things in an oddly prescient sense, the scene that leads to 37 in a row starts with a conversation. It basically starts with the unspoken argument that one person believes blowjobs are cheating and the other person does not, which might be Veronica's.
Well, I think it's more that one person considers blowjobs the same as sex, and the other doesn't.
That's the argument, and see, it's like I said, that was oddly prescient because this became a matter of national debate in about 2 to 3 years later.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
About 3 to 4 years later, when they impeached Clinton.
Yeah, didn't think about that.
I do have a note here specifically for us. I want Robert Bradford to play Willem/Snowball. He looks like it's the resemblance is uncanny.
Yeah, the resemblance is.
I would want him to try and do that voice because I heard that voice and I was like, I had a confused look on my face. I couldn't. It's like this is such an odd voice.
Yeah, well, that was a result of Scott Mosher having to play so many roles in the movie.
Oh yeah.
I think he is credited as playing 6 different characters in the film.
Yeah. Oh, here was my first note about Caitlin versus Veronica. At least Randall is upfront about being a shit. Dante is leading Veronica on while still holding a torch for his ex, holding out hope he can still have her. He got up in arms about Veronica's previous sex life while immediately hoping to hook back up with Caitlin and drop her.
Yeah. I mean, that is a strong argument as to why Dante might be the shittier of the two. He was full-blown planning on cheating on Veronica with Caitlin, which would have made him...
He basically all but said she was a warm body. I mean...
Yeah, and it would have really made him no better than Caitlin. Like, all the other characters rail against Caitlin, and Dante himself talks about her cheating on him, but he was willing to do this...
doesn't make lasagna.
Yeah, and Dante was willing to do the same thing.
Also, Caitlin is kind of female Randall in that she just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Also, I have a single note here. Berserker.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Jay and Silent Bob.
We really haven't.
You know what's interesting is there's not a lot there. What I realized what Kevin Smith had Jay and Silent Bob there for was just something to kind of liven things up and cut away to every once in a while. So it wasn't strictly Randall and Dante musing on life.
Until the end,
Right.
when Silent Bob is no longer silent, which
Right.
becomes a theme.
Yeah, which was entirely accidental because Jason Mewes was so drunk when they filmed that he couldn't get that line out.
That's so the whole. Oh wait, I messed that up. That was real.
That was real, yeah.
That's what I thought. I was like, yeah, I really have. He was fucked up.
What's a good play with... Shit, I fucked that up. What's a good play with nothing
Keep
on
rolling.
it?
But yeah, we haven't talked about the reason for the view askew idea and what makes the view askew universe.
Yeah, I had
View
to
Askew-
explain this to Stan the other day, what constitutes a view askew film, and it's the inclusion of Jay and Silent Bob.
I think it's just like he liked those characters and just like them being just like little, side bits in bigger stories.
And really, there isn't, aside from his one and only line, there's not much to say about Silent Bob in this movie because Kevin Smith as Silent Bob literally just stands there and smokes cigarettes the entire movie.
Right.
Except when he breaks it down and dances.
Except, for his very brief moment of dancing.
They're pusher's mind in their corner. That's what they're
Pusher's
doing.
mind in their corner.
However, Jay is the king of the non sequitur. You talk about having cutaway material. Every time you cut away to them, something ridiculous is happening. Like, I don't care if she is my cousin. I'm knocking them boots again tonight. Or as I was telling Stan earlier today, one of my favorite, completely off the wall fucking jokes is talking about blowing Silent Bob and going, I'll line up 5 more guys and make like a circus seal.
Yeah, and he does the motion. and then later, there's the homophobia where he's like, oh, you like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, and then at the end, before Silent Bob says his stuff,
Yeah.
Jay has gone through this whole really groovy thing with Dante. You know, it's like everything's cool. You know, it's good. And then he totally reverts after he fucks up his line and reverts. Let's get out of here. Let's stop talking to this faggot. You know, it's like you know, and Silent Bob stops and does drops his knowledge, and it literally is knowledge for Dante. Yeah. And then the future Jay and Silent Bob, that becomes the running theme.
I will say my note here. I had a note about the part where they start talking about the Death Star. Before that, when they talk about liking Empire or Jedi more, and I said, of course Dante likes down ending. He's a pessimistic jerk. And I realized something. Dante liking Empire, I think, is supposed to be a hint to the original ending that doesn't happen. Because if spoilers if you don't know, the original ending ends with after Randall leaves, Dante's closing up, and a guy just comes in to rob the place, shoots Dante, and takes the money and leaves, and Dante dies.
Yeah, kills Dante, robs the store, and leaves.
Yep. And I realized that whole conversation before the Death Star thing is like, oh, that's an allusion to, that's how Dante's gonna go.
Mm-hmm. Well, that and his repeated insistence that I'm not even supposed to be here today makes it even more ironic.
More ironic and tragic. Egg guy should have been thrown out for touching all the eggs and putting them in his mouth, and of course smashing them. And then there's the customer montage.
Yes.
It's like we've all got our special ones.
Yeah, we really do. It's especially funny now, the coffee guy. What do you mean you don't have any ice? I'm supposed to drink this coffee hot? That's especially funny in light of the whole McDonald's hot coffee thing, and also just how popular iced coffee has become. I've got one right here in front of me.
I've seen tweets about that still happening. Like people wanting ice in their coffee, just ice in their coffee.
Yeah.
Not like an iced coffee. Toilet guy before he dies.
Oh yeah.
My note here is give an inch, people take a mile. I was like, because this guy's one, he's oversharing about himself.
Oh, for sure.
And two, he's like, okay, so you got a bathroom? It's employees only. Yeah, but I really got to go. Okay, fine, it's back that way. What kind of toilet paper you got back there? It's kind of rough. Well, it's gonna hurt my hemorrhoids. It's like, I need something to read while I'm back there. Can I have a magazine? No, one of the porn magazines. Like,
yeah.
And of course he dies. He dies jerking it.
Yeah.
And that might have, and I'm not sure if I felt sorry for her or did not feel sorry for her, but when Caitlin ends up thinking that's Dante.
I don't know how you could not feel sorry for Caitlin. Like, despite all of her shortcomings.
I do feel sorry, but like they're not the same body type remotely.
No, I mean, like, that was an extra special moment of stupidity on her part, confusing the chubby, short Jewish stereotype for Dante. I mean, so many things had to have gone wrong in order for this scenario to have happened. But
and her realization,
I still
was a really good moment.
Terrible for her.
It is. It's bad.
She felt terrible. She
had
to go to the hospital.
It leads to
they put her in an ambulance with the dead guy.
It leads to what is probably the darkest joke, in my opinion, in the whole movie, when they're making the realization and Dante goes, "Somebody just raped Caitlin," and Randall goes, "She just said she did all the work."
Randall's a stickler for semantics.
Yeah. And
there's a
Jesus,
whole card named after that.
You want to talk about jokes that you could get away with in 1994. Good luck trying to put that joke in a movie now.
Well,
and I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
They didn't. I don't know if they could get away with it. It's just because nobody knew Clerks as a movie and what was going on. You know, it's like it may have been seen by a few people, but those few that saw it were in the know. So it's like, and they decided to keep those in the know.
What are you talking about right now?
And what I'm saying is that it wasn't because that's one of the reasons why it was an independent film and that he was making the movie he wanted to see, and it's like because nobody else was going to let that be.
Do that kind of joke.
Do that kind of joke.
That's the fun of an indie film. No oversight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And but yeah, now that a Clerks remake would be overseen by a totally non-independent studio. Mm-hmm. And it's like, but we get Clerks 2, and they still have the donkey punch stuff. So.
The donkey punch? You mean the donkey show?
Yes, that's what I was trying
You
to
don't
be
want to
good
get punched
about
by
it.
an actual donkey.
And you don't want to get donkey punched either.
You don't want to get.
We saw a movie about that. It was wild.
Unfortunately.
Oh, here's my actual note about Randall. Cousin Walter, Randall's ability to troll Dante is amazing, especially because he keeps getting Dante to go along with it.
Yeah.
That's the note I meant to read earlier. Oh, okay, tabloid guy.
Tabloid.
My note here is the transaction is over. Please leave.
Right.
Because I've been stuck with so many of these customers who just they desperately want to talk about something that you don't want to talk about.
It's become an ongoing theme. Thankfully, not where we work, but whenever I stop for cigarettes, it seems like every other time, when at the time of the afternoon that I go, there's this one cashier who knows me at this point, and when I come in, she'll grab my cigarettes and have them ready for me to ring up. And the last couple of times I've gone in there, there has been one old dude who just wants to stand there at the register and continue talking to her until she just starts ringing me up and he gets the hint.
Jeez, yeah.
But yeah, I don't understand that.
It's the sad desperation for human contact, I think.
guess.
But it's like, you know what? It's not fair to do it to people who, A, aren't paid enough for it, and B, they're not allowed to tell you to fuck off.
Yeah.
Unless they don't care, like Randall.
Yeah.
Oh, here's my next note about Caitlin. Caitlin is bad, but Dante's a disingenuous sucker. Caitlin and Dante represent all the most impulsive, worst decisions young people make when they think they're in love.
Yeah. Wow. Well said.
I just think that sums them both up. They are just two halves of the same idiot.
Yeah.
Well,
no, it's just
Caitlin's never been in the same boat as with love as Dante. You know, it's like she totally recognizes. It's like maybe this time. Because she's not going to get married to the dude because she's come back actually because of Dante, and so that revelation is pretty intense. But I don't think think she's as representative of that teenage love bug as Dante is. Dante has never left that teenage.
Well,
love
they're
bug.
like Chris is saying, they're both sides of the teenage love coin because. Yeah. Dante is the in it for the long haul type and is just devastated whenever any relationship ends. And Caitlin is the love 'em and leave 'em type.
100%.
And we've all known, and men and women who were like that. It's always, the new flavor of the week, their boyfriend or girlfriend. Whatever. Whoa, what happened to so-and-so? It didn't work out.
The fact that she also wants a steady boyfriend and also just wants to do whoever she wants, because as pointed out in the scene where Dante gets slapped with the fine, it's revealed, hey, the guy he's giving the milk to, who's harassing him about a workout regimen, also was just fucking Caitlin for like a whole year when they were dating.
Yeah.
And now gets with his sister.
He gets with the younger sister of like someone else, of her or someone else.
The familial connections in the movie are insane. Everybody knows everybody or is related to somebody somehow.
This is the smallest New Jersey town ever.
Yeah.
It's like one section of it. Yeah. Randall does care for Dante and knows Caitlin is terrible for him.
Yeah.
Because he says that in so many words. It's also
he honestly believes Veronica is great for him. So
he does.
I believe that.
And it leads to Randall's most genuine moment in the entire movie. Pretty much the only indication that we get that Randall actually cares about him, which is when he tells Caitlin, "If you hurt him again, I'll kill you."
Yeah.
Nothing personal.
That's what that note's about. That's where I made that note. And then I think when Randall's telling about Caitlin is bad for Dante, I think I made the note, Randall's right. It just sounds like a Cassandra truth because he's such an ass.
Yeah.
And when he says things that are meaningful and important, it's hard to take him seriously because of who he is.
Yeah.
Veronica versus Caitlin. Man, if even Jay can see it. That was my note there.
Right. And the thing and I think Randall is, I really do believe Randall is not vilified, but vindicated at the end of the movie when they have their fight.
Yeah.
And they go through that really horribly choreographed knockdown, drag out, let's destroy everything in the store. Poorly choreographed fight scene.
Why'd you strangle me?
right. Why'd you take my neck? And how's your eye? Oh, the meat will work. But just the discussion is like, because he goes, it's like, dude, I thought I was helping you out. And it's like, you blah, 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 blah. And it was very sensible. And then, it's like, you think they're broke up, you think their friendship's done. And then next scene, they're cleaning up together. And they know the next day is going to be just like today. And it's like, and there's just this really where Randall's facade just comes down, after that fight. It's like, I can't believe you picked me to fight.
Yeah, and it's easy to look at that scene and that discussion that they have, and especially Randall's monologue, without thinking about how much of a hypocrite he is at the same time.
He is.
We've already talked about a lot of the things that he is ripping into Dante. Yes, even as he is ripping into Dante about his decisions, a lot of those decisions were spurred on by Randall.
Yeah, he leaves out his role in every. He's right about Dante. He's also just ignoring his role in it.
I don't think he ignores his role because he's like...
He's the one who convinces Dante to close the store and play hockey on the roof. He convinces Dante to go to the funeral.
He strongly urges and suggests.
He knows knows which way Dante is leaning. He knows and he pushes it.
Okay, and but Dante closes it. And
he
Dante
does, but if at any point Randall
to the funeral.
If at any point Randall had done the sensible thing and said, "No, don't close the store to play hockey on the roof. No, don't close the store to go to a funeral. No, don't leave me in charge because I'm going to sell cigarettes to a 4-year-old."
It's like, yeah, no, don't leave me in charge because I'm not going to give a shit. It's like,
yeah, but he doesn't do any of those things, and he is responsible, if only indirectly, for a lot of the decisions that Dante makes.
Randall's an agent of chaos.
He is an agent of chaos, but the thing is like he presents all sides. Whenever he it's not like he's going at this guy without the dude having any knowledge of the other side, the other choice he could make. It's like Dante's totally aware of the choices he can make, and he's the one that ultimately says, "Fuck yeah, I'm going to close the store. We're playing hockey. I was supposed to play hockey at 2 o'clock."
He also goes with the choice he thinks will be funniest at any given moment, and because he knows it'll be the most destructive.
That's awesome.
No, it's awesome for
theory.
It's awesome for a bunch of 15 to 22-year-olds.
It's awesome for an audience, not being an active participant.
Yeah.
Okay, granted, and I think that is what Randall ultimately is saying is like, we're not at the point where we need to be that settled person. We
but you should at least
have a life to, and if you're going to be a writer, you can't.
Where did you get the idea that Dante's a writer?
Dante's a writer, right?
No. Dante's a nothing. Like Dante's a clerk at a quick stop.
Yeah.
No, that's his whole thing is that he's a writer and that Veronica wants to go back to school.
Yeah, there's
Who
literally.
am I thinking then?
I don't know.
What did I watch? We're talking about writer. I'm a writer.
I will say right before the fight, I thought about it because it's like, how is Randall screwing this up so bad? I realized because it's like he realized like Dante's gonna crawl back to Caitlin. Mm-hmm. There's no avoiding that. So let's just get him off the hook with Veronica and let Veronica get on her way and not be caught, being dragged down by Dante anymore.
Well, he's helping Dante shit or get off the pot, as he tells him.
Yeah. And that leads to the fight. And again, it's like even when Randall's right, he's still a dick. All right.
Yeah.
And
he may make good points. That doesn't make him any less of a hypocrite.
Yeah. You can be right and still be wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is why I'm thinking that Randall's not the biggest dick, is because again, he knows what he's doing, and he knows he's allowing Dante to have the power to say, I'm gonna shit. I'm not gonna get off the pot. I need to shit. And it's like he's offering Dante the ability and offering Dante a vessel to say, yes, I'm going to do this. And then Dante his vacillation just kicks him. It just fucking fucks him up all the time.
I
And
can
it's
be
like,
cruder about this. In terms of dicks, Dante's a grower and Randall's a shower.
And it just goes back to
Sure.
Randall not making the sensible choice ever. Randall doesn't ever sit down, Dante down and go, look, cheating on Veronica with Caitlin makes you every bit as bad as Caitlin. Don't do that to Veronica. She loves you. You need to sit down and have an open, honest conversation with her. Instead, he chooses to have the conversation with Veronica behind Dante's back.
But they do have the moment where he's like saying, you need to talk to somebody. You need to, if you want to be with Caitlin, but you need to talk to Veronica. And and he
knows Dante's not going to do it.
But the thing is, he does present it. And Dante has no problem saying, the only time he actually considers saying, okay, I'm going to talk to somebody is when Silent Bob opens up and says, you need to do this. And he says, oh, that's right, I love her. But the thing is, he should have had already decided that so Randall didn't have to do it himself.
Yeah.
And Randall's like, okay, and maybe it's because he wants to fuck Veronica or he wants to fuck Caitlin or whatever, but I don't think he wants to do either of them. But the thing is, it's like, okay, he's not going to do this, but and I like Veronica, so it's like, because I think he likes them together and he likes her as a person.
He lays the groundwork. He says, I know you're not going to do this, basically.
I know you're not.
Scenes before that.
Yeah, I know you're not going to do this, and it's like, and since he's not going to tell you anything, yes, it's too blunt. Yes, it's too blunt.
You're giving Randall too much credit.
Maybe I am.
It is too much. No, it's too much credit.
But 12 years later,
he also has the worst timing. He also.
Well, we're not talking about Clerks 2 in the end of that arc.
But you'll notice even when Randall decides to get proactive, it ends in the worst way, because every other time Randall's been proactive in the movie, it's gone horribly wrong.
I.e. the casket.
The casket.
Yeah.
I.e. deciding to demonstrate that he is not a title by spitting water in a guy's face.
Exactly.
By, fucking with a woman.
I'm not denying any of that at all.
So it's also a point of, like Dave said, deciding not to do the sensible thing and saying, look, if you won't tell it to Caitlin, or not, if you won't tell it to Veronica, I will. And letting him know his intentions so that when he does decide to act, it doesn't inexorably screw up something else. And
I think Marion Gigliotti has the best performance in the entire movie. Or Marilyn, I can't remember her name. Miss Gigliotti has the best performance in the movie when Veronica is chewing out Dante at the end.
Really good. Really good. Yeah. And it turns out, she's like 8 years older than anybody else in the cast.
Was she the oldest person?
And I think she passed away.
No, that's Lisa Spoonhour.
Oh. The Caitlin.
Yeah,
yes.
The actress who played Caitlin. I did read that, unfortunately. I can't remember what the details were, but yeah, she fell ill and battled with an illness for a long time and eventually passed away. Marilyn Gigliotti plays Veronica.
Yeah, she's really good, and she's really good throughout the. She has kind of a thankless role, but she does.
Jesus, yeah, Marilyn Gigliotti is going to the 60 this year.
Yeah,
wow. But yeah, I mean, she's honestly. I think in the Dante latched onto that relationship because it's like, oh, she's decidedly the mature one, and I don't have to be.
Right. Yeah.
Because she knows what she wants to do. She's working toward it. She's trying to prod Dante into getting himself down another path.
One of the most heartbreaking is that she came back and transferred to this school.
Yeah, she says that
for him to it would influence him to go. I think that's where I got him being a writer was. They were talking about that.
Her entrance into the movie is hitting the Chulies guy with his fire extinguisher to get him out.
Yeah. And their whole scene behind the counter, underneath the counter, and got the little sign, please put the change here.
Please take the correct change.
Please take the correct change. It's just her maturity through the whole film, her as a character, and then when she reveals that she came back, she transferred to this shitty college, whatever, local college or whatever. for Dante, and they've only been together 6 months?
3.
Or something?
I think it is 3.
3 months.
Yeah.
All
the
I
number
could
is
think,
short, under a year.
Yeah.
all I could think about during the scene of the two of them laying on the floor of the quick stop is how fucking gross it must be back there.
You think
Well, at
anyone
least
can
it
see
wasn't
us
the
down
bathroom.
here? You think anyone can see us down here?
Anyway,
Yeah. So
wow, you want to make out?
No, he says have sex.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But and let it be said, I don't disagree with any of y'all about Randall. I'm trying to be very sympathetic towards Randall because
You're just playing Randall's advocate.
I'm playing Randall's advocate because, like the Samuel L. Jackson characters, or like the I don't know, like Reservoir Dogs, the Chris Penn characters or whatever that Tarantino writes and almost accidentally become really wonderful characters to listen to, or like the Eric Stoltz character in Pulp Fiction or something. Randall kind of becomes that for Kevin Smith's early stuff, and it's like, how does Randall get the best things to say?
Well, that kind of becomes an ongoing theme for Smith, because getting ahead of ourselves here, that's kind of Brody's thing in Mallrats, and then Holden's thing in Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
He's always writing, his main characters are always extensions of himself.
Also, like Dave said earlier, Randall also kind of exemplifies that one friend that everyone has.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the one who is, if he's not an asshole, he has asshole tendencies, and it's just like, yeah, but you know him, and you know when he's trying to cross the line and when he's not. You'll make allowances.
He's the constant, how can you still be friends with that guy?
Yeah.
Because we occasionally have a fight and destroy a whole store. It's like I almost choke him to death occasionally, so it's okay.
And knowing that Kevin Smith worked there at the actual quick stop during the filming of the movie, and that they had to film at night and he was working during the day, just makes it that much harder to look at that shot of the two of them.
Oh, with the destroyed snacks.
Yeah, with the snacks everywhere. Knowing that before the store could open and before they could be wrapped for that night, they had to put all of that shit back.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the whole cleaning scene.
Or he probably had to pay in advance so he'd had the stock to pay for that stock so he could destroy it during that fight.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But yeah, so that is the discussion of 1994's Clerks. So I counted our 100th episode earlier this month as our off-topic episode. So in February, we'll have another off-topic random episode before we discuss Mallrats. And then coming up the last weekend of January is the WWE's pay-per-view Royal Rumble. And there's also, I'm pretty sure, an NXT TakeOver coming up pretty soon. So we're going to be having a lot of content. It's going to be one of those 2 months back to back where we have a whole bunch of episodes coming out. And then we're probably going to hit a dry spell again.
And as of now, as of this moment, end of February will also be the Mad Monster time we have. So we may have announcements regarding that as well.
I know what you're getting at. I know you always want to do this. We've tried doing the Mad Monster episodes
just
before.
what we experienced that.
Oh, yeah.
We might have something to say.
Every time we've attempted to record a podcast about Monster Party, it's failed.
We could just make that a teeny talk.
Yeah, we could do that. So yeah, Stan, you don't want people to find you online. I know that. So Chris, if people want to reach out to you,
I'm on the book.
Yeah, you are on the book. Good luck searching for Stan Lee on
He
Facebook.
won't friend you for several years. I'm going to put that out there.
But I will.
If people want to talk to you online or reach out to you, Chris, where can they do that at?
I mean, I guess if they want to, they can argue with me on Twitter. I'm Chris the OK.
All right. And if you want to reach out to me or follow me online, the best place to do that is going to be Instagram, where I am at DB Hensley. If you would like to find out more about Long Walk Productions, you can visit our website, longwalk.us. If you'd like to see some more of our original content, you can follow the link to our YouTube channel in the show notes, along with a link in the show notes to some of our older episodes that are streaming on YouTube. You can also like Long Walk Productions and Long Walk Podcast by searching for us on Facebook. And if you enjoy this show, please make sure to leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you are listening on. Thank you very much for listening.
Peace out.
You open?
I'm not even supposed to be here
I'm not
today.
even supposed to be here today.